Hey everyone, so time can be a confusing subject whenever we're discussing it, but in this case in particular, during my entire playthrough, I completely misinterpreted what the Time Eater did. Because it was never specifically stated what he did, it was said that he just created the history and we all assumed.
Bastards. The history I created.
You got so trashed!
But if you look closely, because I actually made a video before this on what I thought he did, and when I was going back and doing my research, I realized I interpreted completely wrong. Luckily, the clips I used, I can still use those, but the script is completely wrong. So now, I'm going to tell you all how exactly the Time Eater changed this history. I hope that's not the title of this video, because that sounds kind of lame. Anywho, to shorten this and get straight to the point, really the main focus that you should look off to start off with is Saturn. Now, Saturn's case confused me. Why? Because what the Time Eater had Saturn do was essentially what Saturn wanted to do in the first place. What was Saturn's goal? She wanted to fight Neptune. That was Saturn herself. She had two reasons for doing it. One, because Mega Drive told her that, there would be a catastrophe. The CPUs would cause catastrophe.
But if you don't really hate her, then why are you so obsessed with fighting her?
One of my reasons is, well, it was passed down from my predecessor.
This does not... I am worried about Mega Drive now.
Passed down?
Long story short, we have to defeat the goddesses. If not, there will be a catastrophe. Or something.
Like, I would normally say that's a lie, but Plutia first. Like, that just sounds like a bad idea.
Mega Drive was your predecessor, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, what happened? Don't hurt Meg. If she hurt Mega Drive doesn't want any beef with anybody.
And two, she wanted to find out which one of them was stronger. And I told you all, that sounded like Saturn.
So, you want to fight Neptune based on info from your ancestors. You're pretty faithful to their word.
Mega Drive is... when it comes to facts, Mega Drive is the person you want to ask. Like Blind.
Of course. That's not the only reason, though. I really want to see which one of us is stronger.
Again, and remember that whole... That's the Noir part, That's what I'm saying, she's very much like Noir. When she considered Neptune her rival and everything.
She's a total brat and keeps insisting that she's the protagonist.
she's come on! That dude's been funny this game. Like, really?
So, you actually do hate her?
I can imagine. Like, imagine if you knew somebody in real life who said that they are the main character and you're just a side character. Like, you would want to just prove that you can beat somebody like that.
So then why did the Time Eater even need to get involved? And my initial thought was that, he didn't. It was crazy for him to even do so. However, after rewatching that scene, I realized Segami said something pretty dark. And I was wondering, Segami, why are you so violent? I'll let you guys hear what she said real quick.
Or maybe you don't hate her. But maybe you want to dismember her and shred her to pieces? And maybe destroy everyone who believes in her?
Saturn did that? Saturn did that?
And you want to burn them until there are no traces of their bodies left. Right?
Saturn?
Of course not! Who do you think I am?
Why does Segami speak like she's... that doesn't sound like Saturn, honestly. It really, really doesn't.
Oh, I see.
This doesn't seem like a conversation you should be having with strangers.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're not a stranger, at least not to her. Not to her.
Okay. So here's my thinking, everyone. It's not that he was controlling Saturn to make her fight Neptune. It's that he was controlling Saturn to make her do those things to Neptune. That's very dark. And if they had, really shined a light on that, that would be, I think that made the story, well, you could argue better, but I think here they didn't do that for two reasons. One, what happened with the Conquest ending. People were not happy to hear, Neptune and the others dying in such a way. So, they left the fight ambiguous. And 2, because, you don't want to... Saturn, it didn't sound like Saturn, for her to do something like that. They just said the fights got more intense and when you went to Nepgear and Gengir's arc.
Well, first off, it's very dangerous for anyone to be talking about games in this country.
Fair enough.
Why is that? There have been conflicts for a really long time caused by games.
Oh! Well, that makes sense.
Because of that, most people have certain opinions about gaming. Most people are avoiding them completely now.
Alright.
Among them are people who try and hunt for gamers, with the sole purpose of hurting them.
Well, that also kind of fits with Nepgear's personality. How she doesn't, how calm she is.
Wow. Only one generation has passed. This country's become so disturbing.
But that would cause 2 factions, because think about it. If everybody is thinking what Mega Drive said is correct, that, the CPUs are evil, and then Saturn does that to Neptune, then you have a faction of the CPUs created, and then you have the 2 factions that are made from Nepgear and Game Gear's arc. Alright? But then we also have to look at Plutia. Because here's another thing. I was completely convinced that, Plutia, even before I even got to their arc, that Plutia and Mega Drive meeting was a toxic situation in itself, right? And Mega Drive states after Plutia did whatever you want to call it to IF and Segami, Mega Drive said that she also met Plutia's tastes.
I was just waiting for her to finish. Even I don't have the stomach to see her like that.
Did she get you too? In the past?
When I initially went to visit her after I discovered a goddess existed in this world, my appearance seemed to match her.
I knew it!
Perfect.
No, I knew it. Mega Drive. Oh.
Ahem. Well, if you like Mega Drive, why don't you just stop yourself from doing that thing you do?
Here's a good question. Let's see what she says.
What thing? Oh, I don't know. The thing where you transform into some sadistic freak?
At least you're calling her out on it, Segami.
Why?
Do you see? You guys see? Exactly. She says, why? Like, what's the problem?
Don't give me that. It's because of that form that Mega Drive is trying to kill you.
Yes.
So, and then she doesn't say what exactly happened then. What I had assumed is that the Time Eater had controlled Plutia then. But then I did some research again. 1, the scenario Mega Drive described is exactly the same one when Plutia first transformed into Iris Heart. She attacked Mini Isti and Noir as soon as she woke up with no provocation at all. They literally just met her and she attacked them. That was canon Plutia. So that is the exact same, it makes sense that Plutia would do that then. She also attacked the candidates.
Now then, who should I begin with? I suppose the one closest to my preferred type is... Rom, maybe?
Rom's in danger! Go on, do something, Uni! Lame! I hate this! I want to go home! Did I go too far? Oopsies. I'm so sorry. No! Stay back! No. Now they don't like me.
In the same type of scenario. That was after, she'd been around a long time, but, regardless, that is very much up Plutia's alley. So I was wondering, okay, then why would the Time Eater control Plutia to make Plutia act like Plutia? And it was also strange to me how Plutia, after that happened, it seemed like she felt bad. She was like, Mega Drive, please talk to me.
Mega Drive. I finally get to talk to you.
Actually, I want to talk to these other people first.
Aww, so cold. Mega Drive, talk to me.
She did. And when Segami and IF fought Mega Drive, if the Time Eater's goal was to make Plutia and Mega Drive fight, why didn't Plutia participate in that battle? She just stood at the side, So if Plutia was playing basically Peacekeeper and she held herself back from transforming into Irisheart the entire time because she felt, that was something bad.
Plutie, your face is getting a little intense. Everyone gets scared, so I try my best not to do this, but...
She had self-restraint.
Then if the time he was possessing her, why did he allow her to do that? Well, it's because it only was after Segami and IF interfered. Remember, the first time that Mega Drive and Plutia met, that we see, that was only because Segami and IF were there and Mega Drive didn't want Plutia to get allies.
I've been pondering the best method of dealing with the goddess. I was planning on just silently observing you.
So you haven't, but
I cannot sit idly and watch you join forces, increasing your power.
why not?
I will erase you, here and now.
Well, this is unexpected.
And the second time, they interfered in that battle and they teamed up with Irisheart.
You really are trying to act tough. IF, Segami.
Don't get them involved. They're watching.
Is she talking to us?
You.
What is it?
If you help me, I'll make it worth your while.
Oh, heck no. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
Are you sure we made the right choice in taking Plutia aside?
I wasn't.
Yeah, maybe we should have thought about this a little more.
I was wondering why out of all of the other, choices, you could pick if you were going to side with Neptune or Saturn. You could pick if you were going to side with Uzume or Dreamcast. And you never fought Netgear or Game Gear. But why couldn't you decide to go against Plutia? And that's because if you had, then the Time Eater would have shown up. Because what would have happened if it was just normal Plutia and Mega Drive? Plutia may have tried to be peaceful, then may have gotten the idea, excited about the idea of a battle, and then after the battle would be over, Plutia wouldn't kill Mega Drive. Plutia would never do that. Plutia might, do a talk no jutsu in a sense, and and then they might have a similar conversation to the one Segami had with Plutia, because after Plutia did that to Segami and IF, Segami still went to talk to Plutia. Mega Drive might have been, convinced to talk to Plutia normally, and then they could have became good friends after that.
I don't know what's going on, but don't worry. When Plutia wakes, I'll sit and have a chat with her.
Mega Drive.
She looks so happy. I suppose I should take this time to rest a bit myself. I have all the time in the world to talk to her after all.
And the Time Eater had to make sure that wouldn't happen. So he made Plutia in this, the same type of way that we see her, when you do actually have to fight her. Just battle hungry and, well, not that she isn't normally, but you guys get what I mean? He had to make sure that Mega Drive had no doubts that Plutia was evil.
Well, you've clearly taken some time to decide to battle Plutia.
I noticed that too. It seemed like she wasn't. I meant to mention that earlier. It seemed like Mega Drive wasn't intent on battling Plutia until she saw Plutia possibly about to get more powerful. That's why I mentioned the whole, if you're the only one who can stop her, it's like Plutia's about to get powerful. She's like, okay, I can't let this continue any further. I gotta take her out now. So.
Why is that?
Well, it's not because I didn't have doubts.
Doubts?
And in the end, it really was my own decision.
And that she needed to be stopped. And to tell her predecessor the same thing. And so then that sets up two different factions. Plutia fighting Mega Drive made, the Sega Hard Girls faction. And then Saturn doing what she did to Neptune made the CPU's faction. And then you had two factions in Netgear and Game Gear's arc. And then you have Uzume and Dreamcast. And when you look at it like that, it's actually quite a brilliant plan that I didn't give it much credit for, because I was looking at it in the complete wrong way. And I feel like that's a fault on the writers' part. The writers should have made it more clear exactly what was going on. Because if we had, you know, it makes sense. Because, you know, the way I was looking at it in the playthrough, it's like, I mean, that kind of makes sense. But again, it's not like Plutia hasn't done stuff like this before. I mean, she literally did it in that arc. Like, why would you have her do it in that arc and then say, oh, the first time it was the Time Eater? It didn't make sense. But it does make sense if you think about it, that every time Segami and Knife appeared, they always, like, I forgot to mention, very important. When he would have possessed Saturn, it was the final blow between Neptune and Saturn.
I'm putting everything I have into this next attack.
I can't lose.
What? Saturn, wait!
Whoa! That's not fair! You can't just do that while I'm preparing my final move!
I sense something approaching.
What?
Huh? Come to think of it, I'm starting to feel really weird.
Oh no, don't tell me.
Remember that? But right when that happened, time started to be, you know, it's like time was being eaten at that point. It's almost like that was the point the Time Eater came, you know? That was the point where he would have possessed Saturn, beat Neptune, and then what happened in what Segami told her happened. And the reason I'm assuming what Segami told her is true is because, you know, Segami would have pretty much seen all of this.
The Sega Hard Girls were created to bring life and laughter to the tumultuous history of this world. However, you all know what happened. The history of man became one full of conflict and devastation. I needed to find a way to remedy this. After much thought, I came to this era to get help from this library, so that I could use its powers to fix the past.
It's just that she couldn't stop it. So, and she didn't remember, you know, who she was. So that was like a lingering feeling in her mind. She was like, I'm assuming that's the only reason why Segami would suggest something like that. At least in my opinion. That it is what actually happened. And Saturn saying I wouldn't do that is your hints when you go back in the story to know that, oh, that's actually the Time Eater. That's actually what happened. They're just not going to show poor Neptune, you know, going through that. So yeah. Anyway, that is my interpretation of how things going. I don't want to say like it's fact, even though I think I kind of did throughout this video. I mean, I think I'm pretty spot on. But if you guys have another idea of how things go, then please leave your thoughts in the comments below. And one last thing, because I know this is going to be addressed, but people may have already left this comment. Am I saying hashtag blame Plutia is true? No, I'm not. Alright, I am saying that what I said the entire time, how Plutia started the conflict, is true, but I don't think Plutia continued it. Plutia is just, you know, that's what Plutia did, and then I think after that, she wanted to apologize. And then right when that, you know, when Mega Drive and Plutia may have made up, the Time Eater stepped in and said, nah, let's reinforce that Iris Heart is this, you know, this really dangerous being, and you need to get rid of all CPUs, period. So that is like the Time Eater is the one who's responsible for the conflict. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, please post your thoughts down in the comments below, and I will see you guys for the review next time.